Good afternoon, advanced entrepreneurship. Sorry I can't be in class today. Wasn't feeling very well this morning, so decided probably not a good idea for me to come to school and get everybody else sick. So today we're going to move on to Unit 8, our very last unit of Incubator EDU. So before we get started with class, a question I want to pose you and I want you to think about. So how might you figure out how many customers will purchase your product or service within the next year? Take a moment to think about that and think, hey, so maybe we've already thought about it a little bit, but how are we going to know? Okay, so today we're going to learn how to forecast. Why might you forecast, and some of the messiness that comes with forecasting. So kind of just projecting that overall number, how many people are going to buy your product or service within the next year. So some of the outcomes for Unit 8.1 would be to explain market share and make your first forecast for the first year of your business. You're going to make the first forecast of the cost for the first year of business. You're going to be able to explain the three types of revenue: gross, net, and operating. And then finally, you're going to make your first forecast revenue for the first year of your business as well. So ultimately, with the evidence, things you're going to be able to do at the end of the unit would be a forecast of the first year in your financial model, and then you're going to have some minimum success criteria that goes with that. So today, all we're going to really focus on is the intro to forecasting, so that you know kind of what we need to do for the rest of class, and then when I'm back, we'll be able to get that all set up and started to go. So let's get started. Okay, so intro to forecasting. Why do we forecast, and how do I forecast? So what is a forecast? So essentially, it's kind of a prediction of how much revenue you're going to bring in a certain year. What your costs are going to ultimately cost you over that year, and then how much market share you think you are going to be able to achieve or pull into your business in that first year as well. So why would we want to do that? Well, one, it lets us keep a pulse on our future financial health. Allows us to determine the strength of our business for investment, and also inform the valuation of a company. Okay, so again, at the heart of any business's financial forecast, the goal is to predict the revenues, costs, and subsequently profits and market share. There's a lot of reasons to do this, and again, these are just a few. Which one will be most important for you moving forward? So, forecasting revenue. Let's get started with that. So, these are the driving questions used to determine current and future revenue. In the next slide, we'll talk about how to determine growth rates to determine estimated future revenue. But here's some examples for current revenue and future revenue. So, one, how many customers do we currently have with our current revenue in our financial model? And how many customers do you anticipate getting within the first month of launch? So right now, not many of you have a lot going on in your businesses. So we got to think, how many customers do you think we're going to be able to get in that first month, realistically, after what we've done so far? So moving on to the future revenue side of things. Okay, so by how much will you grow your customer base? So how many are we going to get in the first month, and then from there, how much is it going to grow? And again, this is all based off of data, things that you've collected, how much interest you've actually gained from your product or service, and going from there. And again, what is the timing of that growth? Is it going to be quick, or is it going to take us some time to get there? So, determining growth rates. Two different ways that you can go. Excuse my puppy. Moving on. Two different things that you can consider. So, industry-based growth rates or history-based growth rates. And what industry-based growth rates are is what is the typical growth rate of a similar company. And usually you can find these growth rates on the internet. But if you want to use the industry-based, I would just go and look on the internet and see, is there an industry standard growth rate for companies like ours? An example, subscription-based or product-based, those kinds of things, and find the growth rate based off of that. Now, a history-based growth rate would be how much have we grown between the past 3 months, the past year, and then kind of predicting a number based off of what's happened so far. Okay, so what you're going to do today is essentially you're going to end up forecasting for your own company. So you're going to want to think about, okay, what is the price per our unit, click, or impression? what is the current revenue that we're currently bringing in, and then you need to research some anticipated growth rates by reading this article, which will be linked on Google Classroom. You can open up this presentation and click and open this. Or you can research reputable sites and see if you can find a good average growth rate that you could use for your business. But hold on that right now. There's still some things we need to go over, and then you're going to have the rest of the time to work on that and your MVP stuff as well. So moving on. Now, for forecasting costs, this one's nice because guess what? Cost of goods sold and the number of sales that you've already predicted, it automatically is calculated for you in your financial model. So we don't even have to worry about that. This is done for you, and it's a bonus for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Forecasting market share. Now, one of the most common ways for businesses to demonstrate their health and viability is through figuring out how much of the market share they want to be their customers. You won't be able to accurately calculate this until your MVP experimentation is done, but it's important to be aware of it now so you can take a stab at your financial model and adjust just based on the learnings that you receive. So it's really important that we really focus on our MVP experimentation and really get those things kicked off, because I've given you a couple weeks now and not many of us have done a whole lot quite yet. Okay, well, now we're only about 3 weeks worth of classes left, we really got to get moving before we present our final findings. So total serviceable market share. So remember this graph that I've shown you in the past. Hey, this big circle is the total addressable market. So how many people, if in a perfect world, if you got every single customer in your target market to buy your product or service, how big is that number? Serviceable addressable market is a smaller version of that. So what's a more realistic version of this total addressable market can we achieve? Now, a market share further drills down into your company's serviceable addressable market by estimating what percentage of the SAM will actually be customers. This number will help you forecast how long it will take you to get to your break-even point, and can be used to help you adjust your approach to your product, service, or even your sales. Okay, so again, what percentage is your total addressable market and serviceable addressable market will actually be purchased. Okay. So market share for transactions and subscription services usually are calculated by market share equals the number of buyers and the number of units purchased, okay, times your price per unit, and then divided by your total addressable market, and that's usually your market share. Now, nice thing, again, your financial model will do a lot of this for you, so you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. Okay. For advertising based, sometimes it's by user or by revenue. So your market share is the number of users divided by the total addressable market. Your revenue is a little bit more complex. It's the number of users times the number of clicks times the cost per click divided by the total addressable market times number of clicks times cost per clicks. Okay. Now, if you are an ad-based company, there's less of an exact science to market share. Sometimes it's focused on a number of users. Sometimes it's based on an actual revenue percentage. Use users if you plan to sell the company, or if your company plans to sell data for future revenue. When in doubt, use revenue, as investors will care about the cash flow instead of the number of clicks. Okay, so an example here, a tutoring company, total addressable market, they have $280 million at their TAM, which is the number of incoming freshmen in the United States who want tutoring. So times the number of purchases times price per purchase, that's how they came up with that. Serviceable addressable market is the number of freshmen in the state of Illinois who want tutoring, times number of purchases, time cost per purchase, and they have 11.6 million. Now, the market share is if they reach 5,000 people and 5% of them convert, what is this market share? How would you figure that out? Okay, so the way that we figure that out would be the number of people you will reach times the percent of them that will purchase divided by the number of people used in the SAM. So that's 5,000 times 5% divided by 58,000, and they've determined that they could achieve 0.43% of a million of the SAM for their market share. Okay, so again, they figured out these numbers. The number of people they will reach is based off the number of people we can reach in year 1 at the local 3 districts in Illinois. And the percentage of conversion is based on an industry standard for a typical conversion rate. Okay, so market share, sorry. Okay, apply the growth rate to your model in the market share tab. Okay, so that's what you need to do once next step. Okay, then what is your market share at the end of year 3? And what are some ideas to increase growth rates or increase your market share? So today, the rest of class, what you need to do is we're going to go all the way back here. You need to focus on, okay, forecasting. So what is your price per click or unit or impression? What is your current revenue? Research some anticipated growth rates so that we can calculate that and throw those into your financial model. Okay, and then coming back here, then we need to look at our market share tab. Okay, so apply your growth rates there. What is your market share at the end of year 3? And what are some ideas to increase your growth rates or increase your market share? Okay, then you need to just kind of play with the financial model and see what happens. Look at your graphs. Try to understand the data that you see. Write down any questions that if you're not really sure what you're looking at in the financial model, be a good thing to make sure you check with me and see if there's anything that's missing. Okay, once you're done with that, then you have some time to work on your MVP experimentation. And again, I cannot continue to harp on you enough about trying to push things out. There's some of you that don't have things done. You haven't even attempted to push it out to the public, and that's really important at this point because you're not going to have a lot to share with your investors in the next couple weeks here. Okay, so if you have any questions, please email me. I will answer to you as fast as I can, but you know what you need to do and get to work.